Subscribe today for nonstop Vikings videos all season long. And you know what? We're even going to be here in the offseason as well. And the offseason is probably one of my favorite times of the year because this is when shit gets crazy. That's me being honest with you. If the Minnesota Vikings go out and sign any of the players that we bring up, we're going to be making a video about it. And this is also the time of the year where you can miss a lot of stuff. So to make sure that doesn't happen, hit that subscribe button. And if you are one of our loyal subs, just know that I appreciate you. And if you could take that link that you see below, youtube.com/Vikings today, and send that to a few friends, hey man, that'd mean the world to me. Coming up here on today's show, we're going to be breaking down some Vikings free agent targets. And these rankings are solely based on how I feel they would fit, some of the biggest needs for the team, and the fact that the Vikings don't have a lot of money to spend. You can't go out here and say, we want every single top free agent out on the market. As it stands right now, free agency, it's going to be starting on Monday, but the whole tampering period, you can talk 48 hours before it opens up. You got 8 total draft picks, the number 12 overall, and some of the biggest team needs are corner, defensive end, quarterback, linebacker, and safety. Obviously, the Vikings, they don't have a lot of money. In fact, they are negative as it stands right now in the cap space situation, but you're going to see them move on from a few players, open up a few dollars and cents, and then hopefully go out and get some guys. The first position that we're going to be talking about here is the cornerback position. Patrick Peterson, free agent. Cameron Dantzler still a little bit young, but he had some rumors around him getting moved on from last season. Mackenzie Alexander, a nickel corner, again, a little bit of a free agent. So the top name out there is J.C. Jackson. I don't know if Minnesota's going to have enough money to go out and get him, but if you're telling me, okay, the number one priority for the Vikings is to get better at the cornerback position, J.C. Jackson is option one, and if you can make the money work, you go ahead and make it work. Let's say you can't go ahead and make the money work. Then you got Darious Williams, who I like some of the tape that I watched on Williams. I also don't like it because he's been really good when he's been next to Jalen Ramsey. And the other years that he hasn't been next to Jalen Ramsey, he hasn't been all that good. So I wonder if he doesn't have a top corner next to him, is he still going to be able to play at a high level? Let's go to Stephon Gilmore here, another veteran. But I am curious if, let's just say they take a playbook again out of Patrick Peterson, was once one of the best cornerbacks in the league. Stephon Gilmore, one of the best cornerbacks in the league. Try to get two guys back on the same team to help shut down the NFC North. Carlton Davis, next player up here, 39 tackles, a pick, 11 pass breakups this past season. He's a physical guy. He's going to bring that competitive nature that I know a lot of Vikings fans are going to like, which is why he made my list. So here's your option now. Go down to the comments. Let me know a player that you want the Vikings to sign in free agency, and if you want to be an overachiever, let me know how much you would go ahead and pay him. Well, the next name coming up here is going to be Donte Jackson. He had 61 tackles, 2 picks, 10 pass breakups last season for the Carolina Panthers. The other name that I want to bring up here is Kyle Fuller. Fuller's pretty versatile, whether you want to play him in the slot, whether you want to play him on the outside. Fuller actually also has some safety experience as well. So for a team that really struggled secondary last season, Fuller's definitely a good name. Also, Bryce Callahan. There was basically, I'll say almost every single NFL team was interested in Callahan last season. Put him in the nickel. However, he is coming off one of his worst seasons. But if you could only pick between those two players, who would you pick between? Would you pick Kyle Fuller or would you pick Bryce Callahan? If you want to go ahead and type KF for Fuller or type BC for Bryce Callahan, please let me know. The next nickel corner that you could potentially be looking at is Chris Harris, another aging veteran. And the reason why you got to keep some of these names in mind is because of the simple fact of you don't have a lot of money to spend. Harris is coming off a season where he struggled a little bit, but he is a veteran, knows a lot of different systems. Kareem Williams, he's coming off a good year at 52 tackles, an interception, and 4 pass breakups for the San Francisco 49ers. Another name to keep in mind, and the way that we'll finish this off is Desmond King. 93 tackles, 3 picks, and 6 pass breakups. He did all of that with the Houston Texans. I know a lot of people are going to rip on the Texans, but Desmond King was still a player who showed up, gave it his all every single week. Now we're going to continue to look at some of these Vikings defensive backs where you had Patrick Peterson. We're now going to be talking about the safeties because Xavier Woods is a free agent, and there's tons of rumors of Harrison Smith potentially getting cut. The top safety out there right now, I would say, in terms of household name, is the Honey Badger, Tyrann Mathieu. 76 tackles, 3 interceptions, 6 pass breakups last season. Another name to keep in mind, the aging veteran Kareem Jackson, who definitely was once probably one of the better one of the defensive backs in the league. Coming off a year where he did struggle just a little bit. The options are, though, you're also probably not going to be able to afford somebody like a Marcus Williams. Jesse Bates just got franchise tagged. Definitely another name to keep in mind, though, is Marcus May. So be the GM here. What is the biggest need for the Vikings this offseason? Is it safety? Is it corner? Is it defensive line? Is it quarterback? Offensive line? This is your opportunity to go ahead and let me know. Next position to talk about here is going to be on the defensive side of the football, and we're going to be breaking down some edge rushers. I love Danielle Hunter, but at $25 million, he's definitely a cut candidate. Everson Griffin, getting up there in age, and he's a free agent. You need to be able to pass rush the quarterback, especially when you're going up against, guess who? Justin Fields and Aaron Rodgers. Sorry, Jared Goff. So the top edge rusher is Von Miller. I believe personally that Von either goes to the Denver Broncos or back to the LA Rams. But this guy, I get it, he's old, but Von can still do it at a high level. Chandler Jones. I believe Chandler Jones wants to make a lot of money. So the fit in Minnesota is one that I don't quite understand or wrap my mind around. Though, if Jones was like, you know what? I want to come play and I want to be here, you'd be stupid not to do it. So if you had to pick one, who would you end up picking? Who would be the guy that you would go out and target a little bit more? I want you to type VM for Von Miller or CJ for Chandler Jones. The next edge rusher coming up here is going to be Randy Gregory of the Dallas Cowboys. He had 19 tackles last season, 6 sacks, 4 tackles for loss, 3 forced fumbles, and a fumble recovery. One of my favorite names, and I believe probably one of the best bang for your buck players to go out and get, is Haason Reddick. I personally believe he fits more in a 3-4 style of his system, but he had 68 tackles, 11 sacks, 12 tackles for loss. If all of those players are a little bit too much money, why not go out and get somebody like Justin Houston? If I was Houston, I'd be like, okay, I just saw what Everson Griffin did this past season. He was old. A lot of people thought he was washed up. Justin Houston's still pretty damn good, even though he's in his not late 30s, probably mid-30s at this point. But he did have at least 4.5 sacks. Another guy fits in the exact same boat as Justin Houston is Melvin Ingram. He had 25 tackles, 2 sacks, 4 tackles for loss last season. The next player coming up here is going to be Kyle Van Noy. Whether you want to consider him an edge rusher, whether you want to consider him a linebacker, he is an unbelievable, versatile player, and he's playing in coverage. He's going out rushing the passer. He's dropping back in the run. Just released by the New England Patriots I believe, a few days ago. Let's now talk about the Minnesota Vikings offensive line. Christian Darrisaw, drafted him in round 1. Urza Cleveland, Garrett Bradbury, Ali Uda, and then Brian O'Neill. We're now going to be looking at some players with some Rams ties here. The first guy is Brian Allen, who at 6'2", 303 pounds, definitely has some good connections with Kevin O'Connell. Played in 16 games last season, allowed only 5 sacks. If I had to pick between the center, Brian Allen, or the guard, Austin Corbett, I would go ahead and pick Corbett as well. He's definitely one of my top 5 guards that would fit well with this Vikings offensive line. So if you had to pick a former Ram, would you go BA for Brian Allen, or would you go the air conditioning route and Austin Corbett? Allen's an okay center. Corbett simply just a better offensive guard, which is why I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to be typing my AC. Let's now talk about the tight end room here, because you need to go out and you need to be able to find somebody that you can rely on as a tight end. Gerald Everett is an interesting name to keep in mind. More connections there with Kevin O'Connell. Remember, Everett was once a Ram, then he went over to the Seattle Seahawks. Next name is Kyle Rudolph, which I almost didn't even recognize Kyle Rudolph. Looks like he lost a few pounds. Remember, I mean, this is one of the guys that's been with Minnesota for the longest time, went to the New York Giants. They just released him, but could you actually end up bringing Rudolph to the sled? So what do you guys think here? Would you re-sign Kyle Rudolph? Go ahead and type that Y for yes, or go down in the comment section and type N for no. Let's talk about the linebacker position. It's going to be the last position we talk about. Nick Vigil, Eric Kendricks, and then Anthony Barr. Barr, free agent. Eric Kendricks has been rumored to be getting released. If you want to replace those guys, the top name out there on the market is Bobby Wagner. 170 tackles last season, 1 sack, 3 tackles for loss. I really think it's a 2-man race between Wagner and Devondre Campbell as the top linebackers. Let's talk about Kenny Young. Could be a potentially cheaper option if you don't have a ton of money to go out and spend at the linebacker position, because I always believe linebacker's kind of like running back. It's the easiest position to replace, and it's a position that I don't want to go out and pay a lot of money. So keep an eye on Kenny Young.